Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome to today's program. We have a couple of good friends here. We have Brent and Renee Tyson.
Hi, Johnny.
Well, it's very nice to see you all, and yeah, I apologize for being late getting out here today, and please accept my apology on national television.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Well, we're out here on the Clark Custom Guns range out here. It's so pretty. It's such a nice place to shoot. In fact, you're going to be having some national matches here. Is that
They're discussing a three-gun nationals at this time.
Well, that's exciting because it's so close to us, and that means we can get over here and cover a lot of these things. We also have Jerry Michelik's Wonder Dog here, Jingle, which will be in. Is the dog deaf by now or what? I don't know.
No,
Gunfire
Doesn't phase the dog. Well, I tell you what, friends, we have a great show for you. We're going to do a feature with Renee today. We're going to let Brent do some shooting too. But we have so many of you ladies who are starting to watch this program. And I tell you what, Renee is certainly a national class shooter. She also works here at Clark Custom Guns. And tell you what, without further statements here, let's get another shooting show underway.
What's your time?
270.
270. That's a win and run at second chance.
Now, friends, I tell you what, this is always good to meet other enthusiastic shooters. Of course, we've known these folks for some time now. And the good news is they are a husband and wife who enjoy shooting together. Now, Brent, you were telling me earlier about how you got started in shooting. In fact, now you hadn't done this all your life, have
No,
you?
certainly not.
Well, why don't you give us a rundown on just how both of you got started shooting handguns in particular?
You want the whole story?
Let's do it. It's not that long.
Okay, well, about the time Renee and I got married, there was a rapist that was plaguing the neighborhood in which we lived. And the day we got married, he assaulted a woman that lived about a block or two from where we lived.
Well, I remember this. This was in our local city here of Shreveport that you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
And he ran loose for, what, 2 or 3 years?
He certainly did.
Before he was caught.
This was in June of '89.
And there were people genuinely, and it was a fairly nice section of town.
It was a neighborhood.
And this guy literally, he went around, he stalked women. That's what he did. And every so often you'd see high struck again. So anyway, go on with your story.
Well, he raped a girl that day, and my wife told me that she wanted a handgun. Well, I was a hunter, from my youth, and I knew nothing of handguns. I knew of rifles and shotguns,
right.
So I bought my wife a handgun.
Now, what'd you get? Well, don't give a name brand, but
I bought
something inexpensive.
Something inexpensive, something small, something that would fit easily away, conceal easily, and it was not a very powerful package, and it didn't work. At least we had sense enough to go to the range and find out whether or not it worked.
Good idea.
From that point on, we got a better gun, and we went to the range to practice, and one of the local range had a combat match. I decided to enter. I was hooked. The next match, she entered, she was hooked, and it's escalated ever since. It's been about almost 5 years ago.
Well, and what you have literally, and Renee, you'd never really shot a handgun before this, am I correct?
Right.
Before, and so what you have, and this is a great example. Of course, both of these folks here are very fine shooters. I've certainly seen both of them in action. But we're not talking about, you hadn't done this 20 years.
No.
And here you are literally certainly competitive on a national level, and this is your 5th or 6th year or so of shooting. So I think that's something that a lot of these women who are watching this program, I've heard so many women say, well, I'm afraid of guns, but I know I might have to get one or something. And what normally happens is, when they go out and get a gun and go out and actually shoot it and say, wait a minute, here's how this thing works. And they have proper hearing protection and proper eye protection. They don't get hurt on the range. And their husband or boyfriend does not give them a 2.5-inch barrel 357 Magnum.
Right. Something very intimidating.
Something intimidating to go out here without hearing protection. That's the worst mistake someone can make.
Sure.
Give somebody a Magnum handgun without hearing protection, especially women's hearing is normally more sensitive than men's anyway. Take them out there, let them bang away a few times, and they can't hear, and their ears hurt, and the nerves are all rattling. They don't want to do it again.
I had a real good experience. My first times at the range, they were enjoyable.
Well, you went out properly prepared.
That's right.
Hearing and also you shot a gun that you could handle.
Yeah.
Sure.
We started with 22s, worked our way to 38s, just like they tell you to do in all the manuals.
Well, that's great. Well, and so here you are now, Brent. You're also a competitor.
Yes, sir.
And now you're out here today actually practicing for limited class.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, Renee, what is your next match you're going to be?
Well, actually, I've put down my open class gun for the next 2 months. I'm training right now for the Texas State Stock Gun Championships, which are 2
Which is a
weeks
pretty
away.
good sized match. That's
It is
pretty.
about 100 competitors,
Uh-huh.
and my goal there is to place, of course, as high as possible and win high lady, and then we'll be going to the nationals up in Barry, Illinois, September
For the
16th
limited
or
gun.
something.
Okay, we're talking about limited guns now. I'm excited about this class of shooting now because the race guns are great. There's nothing wrong, but they're not, shall we say, as practical for street for someone actually to carry.
The
I
limited
can't even
gun-
tell I have this gun on. I mean, it's so lightweight. I'm like,
Yeah.
The limited class is generally a little less complicated to get started into. You know, it's
I
a
started
lot
out
easier.
with a Taurus 9mm.
Uh-huh.
That's what I started in.
So, of course, you get some advantages for the 45, and of course, you folks here at Clark's build some of the best 45s available at any price. But the beauty part about the limited class is, one, you can start with a stock gun.
Yes, sir.
And you can make a few modifications. What modifications can you make on a limited gun?
You're allowed to work on your trigger pull to get a lighter, crisper pull, make the gun easier to shoot. Sights, you're allowed to put a decent set of sights on them.
Not an electronic
accuracy,
sight, but
not
an
electronic,
iron sight. Yes.
Iron sights
Uh-huh.
only. No electronics are allowed. Accuracy work you're allowed to do.
Well,
Basically
truthfully,
anything except for a compensator or an electronic sight is allowed.
well, how much does an accuracy job help you on a limited class gun? I'm asking.
Well, on a 50-yard standards, it helps you a lot. At your typical match, for instance, like we have here, where your farthest shot is going to be, say, 20 yards, not so much. Although if you have a headshot, and it could mean the difference between hitting it or
Hitting
missing
it or missing.
Sure.
Now, when you say a 50-yard standard, what do you mean?
They give you, generally it's a par time, which means they give you a set time to fire a set number of rounds at a full target at 50 yards. And basically that's just testing your ability to squeeze the trigger and have a good sight picture.
Now,
at
you
that
have
distance.
to shoot standards in order to compete.
Sure.
Is that-
That's right.
Okay,
yes. The
that's your
nationals
qualification.
there will be a standard at the
It's part
nationals.
of the match.
So just whoever shows up, I mean, you've got to have a baseline of, got to be a pretty good shooter just to get in the
Oh,
match.
yes.
Yes. Because some people might think, well, just anybody can. Well, this is a different level from your local club matches. We're
Right.
talking about
Right.
going on up.
That's correct.
And the thing is, they simply don't have the time to weed through new shooters. This is serious stuff.
Well, there will be some new shooters
sure.
there, and of course, the idea of the standards is really, anybody can pull a gun and shoot, at a target 2 yards away and hopefully hit it. but at 50 yards, it does become quite a bit more difficult, and that's
Oh,
where
yes.
your sight alignment and your trigger squeeze become very important in order to be able to hit that target.
All right, what would you recommend? Certainly, there are a lot of very fine IPSC groups locally, USPSA clubs, and normally if you go down to your better gun shop, or I guess you could write to or call the USPSA out in Washington, they could tell you where a local chapter was, right?
Sure.
That's correct.
Now, what guns do you shoot in IPSC now? You shoot handguns and rifles and what else?
And shotgun.
Shotgun.
And shotguns.
And
So,
shotgun.
so,
Auto loaders.
so IPSC is not just handguns.
Nope.
No, it isn't. The preferred rifle is going to be your Colt AR-15 style weapon.
Right.
And preferred shotgun is going to be any reliable semi-automatic, generally 12 gauge.
Are pump shotguns competitive?
No,
Not now.
not the way it's currently set up. No.
Well, now again, pumps are great for mosquito. Yes,
Mosquitoes.
it is Louisiana. Yes, it is Louisiana, and we do have our state bird out here today, the giant Louisiana swamp mosquito. But anyway, again, we're getting into competitive things that may not always be practical on the street. But from IPSC type shooting, I suppose you learn gun handling.
Yeah.
The skills are the important thing, and the ability to operate your weapon underneath a stress situation.
Well, I would think that's worth a lot. I have certainly If you don't think it's stress, friends, let that timer go off and you got 20 shooters who are at least as good as you are standing behind you. Yeah, the stress factor is kind of off the scale, I promise. But now, what are you shooting today, Renee?
This is a Clark Custom Combat, which is a standard package that Clark Custom Guns offers on any customer supplied gun, or we can supply this gun complete from the shop. What we've done here is taken a Norinco 1911 and jazzed it up a little bit. We've done an accuracy job, which this gun out of the box shot about a foot group at 50 yards. That's 12 inches, and it now shoots about a 2 1/4 inch group at 50 yards. We've also installed an aftermarket trigger and done a trigger job, which makes the trigger pull a lot more pleasant, and it makes the gun easier to shoot. A good set of iron sights. These are Bomar target sights, a preference of target shooters over the in the whole world. Actually, it's probably the most popular. Got an extended thumb safety, beaver tail grip safety, mag button, make it easier for your mag changes, and an SNA mag well, which enlarges the opening once again to aid in quick mag changes. And this allows us to shoot the gun a little bit faster and more accurately. Let's see, the equipment I've got on here. This is an entire Safariland rig. This belt that I'm wearing comes off, and you see, and I keep my gear on here. And what this allows me to do is I need to get out of my my holster and whatnot. Everything is on the outer belt, and this is a neat little deal. They have Velcro. You can just wear the liner belt, and everything comes off with it. So if you need to, run, go do something, you can just pull this off, and everything stays in its place. You don't have to rearrange everything every time you want to re-suit up. And we've got their holster here with it's a trigger lock system. You see, it's an open front to allow you to only have to bring the gun up so high before you can point it forward and begin shooting. And it's got a trigger lock, and this is what holds the gun in the holster. It's only held in by the trigger lock, but you can roll over, do somersaults, jump over a tennis net, whatever, and it's not going to come out of there. And these are our mag pouches, angled for a quick mag release. Instead of having it straight up, it's angled so it's more ergonomic. Come up, reload the gun, and we've got, let's see, shooting a single stack 45, so we have 8 rounds. We've got space for 6 mags on our belt, which usually gets us through most courses of fire.
Don't go away. The Shootin' Show will be right back after these very important messages.
You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbon, information on their product line, call them. Corbon Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbon is the best there is.
Now, Renee, you're going to be showing us several drills today. What are you about to do?
Well, this is my standard drill that I do in practice. I'm going to do some one-shot draws. What I do there is just to get my draw down, make sure I'm breaking the shot as quickly as possible. And as soon as when I come out of the holster and get on target. And then what I'll do is some build drills, which is 6 shots on one target. We attempt to get this all A hits, although of course that doesn't always happen.
Well, I can't believe that. It's certainly I've never missed myself too much. Well, anyway, are there any particular when women are out here shooting with men? In fact, when you're shooting with Brent here, are there any advantages or disadvantages that women have as regard to men shooting?
Well, I'd say probably no advantage or disadvantage. The only time that I could think of that would be sometimes if we have a longer run, the men may be at an advantage. But other than that,
so really, these ladies out here can go out and embarrass their husbands and boyfriends if they work at it a little bit, huh?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna certainly step back out of the way, and now you're draw and one shot. All right. Do you have any particular technique that you use on your draw that might be helpful for somebody else?
Well,
because I've seen you're pretty darn quick. I know that.
Well, my goal coming when I hear the signal, which we have an audible signal to start.
Right.
I listen for that intently, and as soon as I hear the start of that beep, my hand starts moving toward the gun, and I want to get my gun out of the holster as quickly as possible.
Well, something else, we have someone over on the other side of the range shooting, and there may be people next in another area shooting and banging away, and I think this is another thing about IPSC type competition. You can function even though things are going on around you.
Oh, sure.
And because somebody may be, a couple of other people may be shooting at the same time.
Oh, sure,
so
we'll practice side by side sometimes.
Yeah, and just have to literally shut everything else out, and it's great
Right.
concentration. All right, ma'am, I'm going to step back out of the way and let you show us some stuff.
Okay. Okay, my goal when I'm practicing these one-shot draws is to get an A-zone hit, which is in the center of the target, in a second or less. And although I may be able to do that with this limited class gun, I also may need a little bit of practice, which is why I'm out here to learn how to do that. That was a 105. That was a 95. 0.95, that is. 99. That's a 92. Ooh. That was a flyer. That was a .90 though. .90 in the A zone. All right, that's enough of that. We're doing that pretty good. Okay. Now what we're going to take and do is try to put 6 A's on one of these targets in less than 2 seconds. Okay, there's a 1.9, but not quite 6 A's. It's like 3 A's and 3 C's, which is not bad. I'd take that in a match situation. We'll try that one more time on our remaining empty target here. Gonna reload. Get these things only hold 8 rounds. go through this 3 times with my open class gun without having to reload. That was pretty ugly. Did I hit them all? I hit them all. Not nearly as good as the first time. A little bit faster, 1.84. But the points I lost doing it that much faster wasn't worth it. All right,
That's a good point, Renee, of accuracy versus speed.
Well, it's a fine line here. For instance, on the target that I had about I forget what the time was, but anyhow, on the trade hand target, which I did a little bit slower, I only dropped 3 points, and so that was a pretty good run there. And then this one, which I did maybe 0.6 of a second faster, and I dropped, let's see here, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's 11 points. So so the faster time definitely didn't do me any good with those terrible hits.
Well, what are your points? What are the how are points figured on the IPSC type target?
This is an A zone, and this is an A zone, and these are worth 5 points when you're shooting your major power factor ammunition. This area right here around the A zone is a C, and this around the A zone in the head is a B zone, and these are both worth 4 points with major. And then the outer zone all the way around the target here is D zone, and you get a big 2 points for that one. So you don't want the D's. D's are bad. A's and C's and B's are what we want. So a fast A or a slow A is good, but if you're going to hit something slow, you want it to be in here, not over here.
For information on the fine product line of Clark Custom Guns, give them a call, area 318-949-9884. Again, 318-949-9884.
Okay, next what I'm going to attempt to do is instead of shooting at one target 6 times, I'm going to attempt to spread those 6 shots over 3 targets in the same amount of time that I was shooting 6 shots on one target. And I think the time that I had where I actually hit something then was about a 1.9. So I'm going to attempt to put 2 A hits on each of these targets in approximately that amount of time. Did I hit them all? Ooh, I hit them all. That was a 1.99. The hits don't look real pretty, but they didn't look real bad either. So we got them all on paper. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to practice my reload as well as putting 2 on each target. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate a draw, 2 shots on each of the 3 targets, and then reload, and then 2 shots on each of the targets again. And we're going to go for about 5 seconds on that with hopefully some good hits. I like that.
4.89.
I'll take it.
Pretty
everything?
smoky.
Yeah,
Oh, good. Only 1 D.
that was an excellent run.
Is that pretty?
Yeah.
That's pretty. Okay.
It was a
All
good
right.
reload. 167.
I'll take that.
Now, Renee, I see we have our trusty Colt Sporter here, and that's not the first time you picked one of these up, I'm sure.
No.
Now, what will you normally shoot in a rifle match? What sort of target? We know we have
This style of target.
This style of target.
Generally. Sometimes they'll put some steel out there to get hit.
Well, what's your favorite gun to use? You were talking about the AR-15s, and you at Clark Custom Guns. You modify them. What do you do to them?
Well, no, Clark doesn't work on AR-15s. Eagle Arms would be somebody that we would generally patronize, of course, or Colt. My rifle that I shoot in matches, Brent and I both, is from Olympic Arms out on the West Coast, and it's a shorty actually. It's a 16-inch barrel with it's got the Clark muzzle brake on it. Which is a very popular muzzle brake in the IPSC game.
Well, does the shorter barrel, say this is what, a 22-inch barrel, ever what they are, does the shorter barrel give you an advantage in competition?
Well, I think it does for me. for one, I noticed it's a heck of a lot louder, but it's also a lot lighter. So as far as if you have a long run, which sometimes, you'll have like a 30, 50 yard, run, and you'll be running, and I get tired carrying something, this much heavier, although actually this rifle isn't heavy.
Well, every bit of weight that you're carrying is weight that you have to carry the whole weight.
Right.
So, well, why don't you shoot that a time too far? So let us watch you do that, because the whole point of and we appreciate so much you taking time, because you and Brent both have been
always
busy. We're always, I know you're on a tough schedule too, and you've already put in a full day's work out here.
Right.
But we want to encourage these women, and especially these husband and wife teams, because a lot of times that husband is going down to the range and the wife stays home. Well, she's bored. Well, the ladies, look, you need to go too. I mean, that is so.
A lot of fun.
In fact, you may go out there and beat your husband or boyfriend or whoever real bad.
I do it all the time.
But I don't think they'll mind. Hey, if they have a problem with that, well, they need to get an attitude adjustment.
All the
Don't
guys
you
are
agree?
really helpful.
Absolutely.
They are.
And we've said so many times, when you go to a shooting match or out on the range like this, the people they're not what we used to call the gun shop commandos.
No.
Because normally those people that go in, the donut shop or gun shop commandos who talk such a big game, and it's true in any sport, but normally they're not people you'll meet on the range out here.
That's right. But nicest bunch of people you could ever want to run into.
And typically, even if you have a problem with your gun or you're doing something wrong, you'll have one of the competitors who will be happy to help you out.
That's right.
Because we're all trying to encourage more, especially new shooters. Let's get out here and see how this thing works.
Always wanting to have fun, have a safe time shooting.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see here. We push our forward assist button, make sure it's loaded. Put her on fire, keep her downrange, of course, and we're gonna see how fast we can shoot a bunch of A's in this guy on the left here. Neat. Go ahead and empty it out. You empty. You got any more bullets?
Now, Brent, you were shooting those pins. You were telling me something about Renee. You were talking about how shooting bowling pins is not as easy as it looks. Am I right?
No, it's not. It's really not. The pin is white, your sight is not, the pin is small, and you're trying to shoot it pretty fast. And the trouble with pins is you tend to focus on the pin instead of your front sight.
Instead of front sight like we're supposed to.
Like we're supposed to.
And of course, the pins you were shooting earlier weigh about 29 pounds
I don't know how much they're heavy. They've probably got a box of ammo in every pin.
A box of lead in each pin. Well, let's do, I do want to mention, of course, Kay Clark Michalik is the current world champion, am I correct? The
That's right.
IPSC world champion, women's champion. And they just got back from Second Chance, and the Masters. Now, you were shooting pins. Of course, Jerry Michalik holds the world record, I think, in
He
Second
holds some
Chance.
records.
A lot of them.
All right, and they did extremely well. We're so pleased with the Clark family's performance at the Masters tournament, which was just completed. Where did they come in? Can you tell us?
Let's see. I believe Jim Clark Jr. placed second in the shotgun event. I'm not actually sure about where Jerry placed as far as
Fourth overall.
I believe it was fourth overall in the aggregate. I'm not sure about in the separate disciplines.
Three gun match.
He won the
Exactly
action
what
rifle.
he did.
Jerry won action rifle.
One action rifle.
Mr. Revolver Speed
Right.
forever is won action rifle.
Action rifle.
And
Kay was second lady.
second lady. And of
She
course,
won 4 events, 4 out of 9 events.
4 out of 9. And of course, a good friend of hers, Judy Woolley, won.
Won it.
She's
Now,
just super at
She's
that.
always the favorite.
well, we're going to see you up there next year, you think? Maybe?
It's possible if if I can get all the guns together. It's something that you have to prepare for.
That's a
lot.
difficult event, isn't it?
Very,
But, yeah.
yes.
Well, we hope to cover that. We weren't able to get to the Masters this year due to some other things that we had to do. We hope to get up there and cover that this next year. Well, again, thank you all so much for coming out and doing this with us this afternoon. I know that a lot of folks are going to enjoy this, and we're going to encourage a lot of ladies to get out and let's start shooting some guns, huh?
Yep.
sir.
Hope so.
Shoot them all.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
You know, friends, this Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum, as you've heard me say on the program before, is really one of the most accurate revolvers, for that matter, one of the most accurate handguns that I've ever had the pleasure to shoot. But it will only shoot properly. It's only accurate with good ammunition. Now, you and I both know that so much of the food we eat comes from over-processed beginning product, over-processed vegetables. The meats we have a lot of other chemicals and things in them that are probably not good for us. How many of you are stressed out? How many of you are middle-aged, like some of us here today, and in fact are under tremendous stress and strain from your work or whatever else, or have had health problems in the past? Well, guess what? We can help you out. Our Shootin' Show Health Club is, I think, one of the great discoveries of my adult life. Literally, it is so much fun. Here I am, 45 years old, knowing what I know now, but I'm not sure I felt this good when I was 25. Now, this is no joke. If you want to feel better, if you want your health to improve, please, friends, give us a call on our Health Club line, 1-800-895-7916. Give your name and address and phone number. We'll have somebody get back to you. Or you can call Bobby. If you forget that number, don't write it down. You can call Bobby on 1-800-SAVE-YOUR-GUN, 1-800-728-8486, certainly either 800 number, and let us get this information out to you. It certainly does help our program, but also it's going to help you. And that's, you know, we need as many good citizens, as many people who are healthy, who feel like doing stuff. So many of you would exercise if you had the energy to exercise. Now, you know, that's something to think about. If you felt like exercising, a lot of you would. We can help you. And they have a 100% money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, if you don't feel better, simple thing, they'll give you money back. So please give us a call. The Shootin' Show Health Club. Do it today. Don't put it off.
Friends, for information on the Shootin' Show Health Club, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your phone number, your address. We'll have someone get back to you immediately. Again, the Shootin' Show Health Club, 1-800-895-7916. Friends, let's do it today. You know, Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But you know, there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American Magazine. So here's how to do it.
You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE-TRUE. And those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month.
Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're enjoying our program. We're so happy to be with you. It's my esteemed colleague's birthday today, and I'm sure all of you, including all of us here, would like to wish the judge here a happy birthday. You having a good one, sir?
So far.
Having to work anyway, aren't you?
Still have to work.
Well, sir, we're so appreciative that you have had your birthday, and we hope that you have many, many more to come.
Becky says I'm working because I like to work. I'm
Well-
not sure that's exactly correct.
Well, we're certainly glad that you are, because we need your assistance now more than ever. Well, friends, we had a lot of information on last week's program, and you and I had talked about some things that you wanted to mention. And what was it you said earlier about Bill Clinton?
Well, about this business of banning cigarettes for juveniles. Of course, 18 years old, old enough to get drafted and stuck in the Marines. I guess you're old enough to smoke cigarettes if you want to. But my comment was that Bill Clinton was elected president by a minority vote, incidentally, was elected president, not dictator. And I don't think he's got any right to tell people what they can and can't do by executive order. It's bad enough if Congress does it. It's terrible when the executive takes it upon himself to do it. Of course, he's doing it by the back door. He wants to classify nicotine as a drug. He might try alcohol, a lot more prevalent in use, and a lot more dangerous. At least immediate danger. Tobacco may have a long-term danger of lung cancer or what have you. But I never heard of anybody driving under the influence of tobacco. And there are lots of driving under the influence of alcohol. And that produces a danger not only to the other people in other vehicles, but also to the people in his vehicle or her vehicle. And everybody knows, at least I guess everybody knows, you only catch a small percentage of the people that are actually under the influence of intoxicants.
Well, you know something I heard the other day, I read this the other day, and it was talking about so many things that have been around all this time, caffeine and nicotine and alcohol. And what the commentator said was he thought every major decision in this country had been made under the influence of caffeine, nicotine, or alcohol, sometimes all three at the same time.
Well, you know, Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it, too.
I mean, when you drank a Coke back in
I don't know how long ago.
1800s, I mean, you really got a buzz. I mean, you got a real lift out of the original formula, I guess, huh?
Boy, I need one of those now.
Don't say that.
I didn't say I had one, just said I needed one.
You need a lift. Well, of course, Coca-Cola has taken that cocaine out many years ago, but so many of those things they didn't, around the turn of the century, they weren't really sure what they did to you, I guess, huh?
No, and besides, it was only a minute quantity. I don't know if it was addictive or not, and I just don't know if something being addictive. I said a long time ago, I'm addicted to Cokes. I like Cokes.
You like them?
I like them.
Yeah.
So if it's addictive, which is what he's saying about alcohol, why don't he ban Cokes?
Or nicotine or caffeine, or I understand what you're saying. Well, something I heard on the radio this morning on one of the talk shows, I was going to pass on to you, and we're not going to get involved in this on today's program, but it was talking about, you know, this lady, this Jane Roe, the Roe versus Wade, that famous, she has come forward now, and she has joined Operation Rescue, I think. Is that right?
She's exercised that feminine prerogative to change her mind.
That's, and boy, for one subject that you and I will not get into today is that feminine prerogative of changing their minds. But moving right along, but the caller on this particular talk show made an interesting point. He said, you know, and this is, I think this is one of the great fallacies of the so-called liberal mind. He said, well, you know, they're saying it's a woman's right to choose whether or not she'll have an abortion. It's her decision about her own body. And how can these same people come along and say that drugs are wrong, because that's their decision, or anything else is wrong we do to ourselves? That's the individual's decision about their own body. Isn't that sort of logical reasoning there?
Well, I see the logic of the reasoning. Of course, you know what they're driving at is. And,
absolutely.
That tobacco smoking has a long-term effect. After a certain length of time, it gets addictive, and people end up with lung cancer. I've had some friends die with lung cancer, and their hospital bills, medical bills, and so forth get to be pretty high.
Staggering.
But you know, you could cut out all of those things, but you're putting everybody in a cell.
Yes, that's a good point. Again, it is another chink in the armor of personal liberty, don't you think?
I think it's a definite chink in the armor of personal liberty. And I just, it's not going to work in the first place. Prohibition didn't work.
Well, look how successful the war on drugs is. Let's just look at the fantastic success that the war on drugs has come about. Of course, there's also some other reasons, and the same reason prohibition didn't work. There are so many people, there's so much money involved, so many people can get paid off, including law enforcement people, including I would suspect we've got one or two congressmen that have received some under-the-table drug money. Maybe even in higher offices than that, there's things being said about some of those folks in the, shall we say, the highest office that have had some influence from drug deals in the past. That's what's being said. We didn't make that up. And there's so much money involved. It's very difficult to, you know, Judge, if we can go to the moon, we could do something about drugs if we really wanted to.
Well, Johnny, that's what we thought about prohibition. It's what they're thinking about about tobacco. I tell you some other things you're addicted to, Johnny. You're addicted to water.
I would say, yes, well, that's, if you don't get it, you'll certainly...
But the thing is, water isn't dangerous. You're addicted to food, but food isn't dangerous. Now, you watch it, the next thing they're going to do is to say, well, okay, we're going to do it because it's dangerous. Next thing you know, they're going to be trying to ban firearms because they're dangerous.
Well, guess what? A firearm better be dangerous, or it's no good. Just like a dull knife. You know, a dull knife is not in the right shape to be a screwdriver. You know, a dull knife's no good if it's not dangerous.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, for information on the Shootin' Show Health Club, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your phone number, your address. We'll have someone get back to you immediately. Again, the Shootin' Show Health Club, 1-800-895-7916. Friends, let's do it today.
Now, Johnny, this gets over to another subject because I think we've exhausted that one. What about, how good a rifle shot are you?
I'm pretty fair.
Just pretty fair.
I'm pretty fair.
You're not a world's champion by any means.
No. I mean,
I've
pretty
seen
fair.
you shoot. I think you're a pretty good rifle shot.
Pretty good.
I don't think you've seen me shoot a rifle very much, but I'd
Well,
consider
you've won some
myself-
trophies, that's right. I mean, you've been in competition all your life.
Well, not all my life.
Well,
I
good
got
part
into
of it.
that. I got into that late in my life. I'm real late in my life right now. But I watched the Waco hearings. I'm back to Waco now, just briefly. I watched the Waco hearings, and the FBI people all said that once they got there and took over from alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, which was at least midway, or maybe earlier than midway in the game, of the standoff, as they called it, they testified that the FBI never fired a single shot at the home of the Branch Davidians. I'm not going to call it a compound. And that they never fired a single shot, but they were taking fire continuously. They said from automatic weapons. I just saw something here on the program a little while ago, though, where a young lady was shooting a gun, and it sounded like it was automatic weapons, and I know it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No, this gun right here, in fact. And no, it is not full auto. No.
But let me put it like this, Johnny. If you were up in in that building and had a decent rifle, particularly a 50 caliber one, because that's what they kept talking about, 50
caliber, well, that's a Barrett, which is not a full auto gun.
If you were up there and you were firing at the FBI people, even though, especially when they weren't firing at you.
Yes.
But if you were firing at them, would you have gone 30, 40, 50 days without hitting anybody?
No.
I know I wouldn't have.
You know,
I think I'm a lot more dangerous than that.
I would imagine so. They would, in fact, if they stood out there and didn't fire, especially with a 50 caliber gun, they would have been in trouble with almost anybody we know. You know,
They'd have been in trouble with a lot of people. Now, remember Jim Clark, who you've talked about on this show lots of times. Jim was a Marine sniper with a 30-06 03A3. I don't think he even had a Duran,
No.
an M1. And he picked off Japanese by the dozens, just by the dozens.
Well, that was his job, of course, in saving American lives.
Sure, and he was a expert shot, and he was young enough where his eyes weren't bothering him like mine are bothering me.
Well, still, it's nothing for a sniper to make a 1,000-yard shot, 700-800 yards. They're trained to do that. That's not a difficult shot for someone who's really trained to do it.
Well, the long and short of it is, I don't believe that version of it. I simply don't believe it. I don't believe that the FBI was sitting out there
Not returning fire.
not returning fire, or that the Branch Davidians were firing at them and not hitting anything.
Right.
Now, one way or the other, that's not true.
Well, because they had FBI people, we saw it on the independent feeds and on network TV, for that matter. You'd see the house in the background, and they weren't that far. Heck, it wasn't 200 yards to that house from the opening of their driveway back there. I've been out there and saw that.
And that wouldn't be very much problem to hit somebody from that range.
Oh, nothing to it.
And if they were hiding behind an automobile, you could still hit them, couldn't you?
You could still hit them, that's right. And these people weren't, half of them were wearing armor, half of them weren't. And with a lever action 30-30, the Branch Davidians could have shot them all.
Well, what I'm saying is that I simply do not believe this version of events. I do not believe they could have been taking fire, not returning it, and still not being hit.
Well, as you and I have said before, I have talked to one of the attorneys who went in there and talked with Koresh trying to make a deal to get them out. And several of these people I have talked to, and they weren't all together, and they talked about the bullet holes in the floor, and they looked up, they said, look here, and they looked up in the ceiling, in the roof of the house, and they could see daylight where those bullets had come in from outside. Now, I don't believe those people would lie about that. And it would be impossible for a Davidian to get up on, why would they get up and shoot their own roof? They wouldn't do it. And so a lot of stuff here has not come out. And I don't know if it ever will come out.
Well, I told you last week why this was not an ineffective way of having a hearing. Incidentally, I mentioned last week that I had gotten a few reprints of that article about Oklahoma City, and they've come in. I've got them. Those of you that want them, let me know about it.
Just write to the judge here, care of the program, 554 Kings Highway, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71104. And what are you going to charge for that?
Well, I don't know what the mailing costs are going to be, but $1 ought to help, and
Okay.
$1.25 would certainly do it without any problem. These reprints cost me 75 cents a piece, and I will be glad to even subsidize it a little bit. Send me $1, and if you're feeling real flush, send me $2, and I'll send one to somebody free. Let's get this. I think it's the most interesting article. It's very current in the news today, because on the television this morning they were talking about a couple of people being indicted. I'll be more interested in seeing that trial than I will that football player in California.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely. And let us say a word about the New American Magazine. Friends, it is absolutely fantastic it's true. I mean, that's the greatest thing you can say about any publication. And speaking of true, I understand that there are some things coming out now on Bill Clinton. There's something new. I heard I believe the American Spectator is printing, and I stand to be corrected, but I believe this is true, on this Vince Foster thing and for some reason they've got all these details and all these sordid things they've uncovered, but the organized media refuses to pick it up. This a newspaper in London has been very, very strong in reporting the news on Bill Clinton and all this, the whole mess up there. I mean, there are a bunch of very strange people, shall we say, and a lot of this has come out in England, in London, and the American press has just refused. They're protecting their boy, I guess, huh?
I don't know. They jump on him until the Republicans took over Congress. Then they had another whipping boy and wanted to jump on the Republicans. You know, it's a funny thing. They talk about this contract with America. I was listening to a GoPack tape earlier today. The Republican contract with America called not to pass a bunch of things, said they would bring them to a vote in the House in the first 100 days.
Right.
Well, they shrunk that down to 89 days. They brought all of them to a vote. They had 302 gross votes in the House, and they won 299 of them.
Which is real.
But the point is, they brought them all to a vote. The speaker was talking about some newspaper man had told him, "Well, you won. Now what are you going to do?" Newt said, "Look at the contract." He said, "No. What are you really going to do?" The press and the media have been so conditioned, and people have been so conditioned. The politicians saying one thing when they run for office, another thing when they get there. But they did it. They did it. Now, if this wasn't what the American people wanted, fine. Now, personally, I don't think we ought to have term limits.
Really?
No, I don't. And I've got a reason for that. Number one, the public can vote somebody out. I grant you that the campaign finance laws ought to be titled the incumbent protection laws.
Yeah, really.
But even somebody as well entrenched as Jack Brooks in South Texas managed to get himself defeated when he was on the wrong side of some issues. And what I'm really concerned about is that a lot of things that happen in Washington are done by the staff, by the people that are there.
Yeah.
They're going to be there next year. They don't have term limits, and I am concerned that without our elected officials, whose records we can look at and either vote for them or against them, that we cannot figure out what a staff member is going to do, and we don't really have enough of a record for somebody just going up there to be able to tell whether we really want to put him there or not.
Well, staff people will actually write a lot of the legislation, right?
Well, they have to, Johnny. That crime bill that they passed last year was 1,000 pages long.
How many
congressmen you think actually sat down and read that?
That's my question. How many do you think actually know what's in the crime bill?
I think precious few. They may have been briefed on it by their staff, and the staff may not have read the whole thing. And somebody had to sit down and write it. And believe me, if you give me 1,000 pages, I can put some sneakers in it.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is one of the ways we've gotten in the trouble we're in, because there's so much legislation, such a massive amount. And, you know, friends, I think this is important. These congressmen, these senators, hey, they're just regular people. And sometimes they're not as bright as some others. All they know how to do, some of these folks know how to do is raise money. That's their one skill.
And get elected.
And as far as being skilled as a thinker, as a reasonable person, a lot of them really aren't. In fact, a lot of them are nuts, and that's come out in some of the goofy things. Some of these, the old boy that would steal all the crackers on the airplanes, you know, and he was a very high. You remember that a while back?
No comment.
No. So
no comment.
There are all kinds of things, and that's why we've got to keep some sort of rein on these people.
Well, a way to keep a rein on them is to have people whose votes you can count and whose votes you can look at, and who've been up there, and to have term limits on them for maybe 3 terms or 4 terms in the House. 4 terms in the House, only 8 years. 2 terms in the Senate's 12. So you'd have to have six terms in the House to equal 2 terms in the Senate, and maybe 10 terms. That'd be 20 years. That ought to be enough. I don't think you ought to cut it down so close that you really don't have a chance to find out what a fellow's going to do before he can't be there any longer.
Yeah. Well, what we have to do as individuals is we have to take an interest in what's going on. That's what this show's all about, is literally an interest in what is going on, and certainly helping to educate you folks on what we have found to be true. And you know, if you see it on this program, it is absolutely what we believe to be true.
Well, the NRA is having a grassroots meeting here in Shreveport. Shreveport, Louisiana, tomorrow.
Finally. After how long did you suggest that to them?
Actually, I counted it up while we were waiting for this section of the show. It was either 18 or 19 years ago
That you suggested this
that
very thing?
I told the NRA that we had to quit reacting. We had to take the initiative. We had to elect people to office who were on our side to start with. We had to quit just waiting until they got elected to office and then trying to convince them that our side was right.
But that has not worked.
It was all a case of reacting. Something came along and we reacted, and something came along and we reacted to it. And actually, something came along and we reacted to it, and there were compromises. Johnny, you know what a compromise is?
That's when both sides theoretically give. Problem is,
You give, and what's supposed to happen?
it's supposed to be finished.
That's right. It's supposed to be
That's right,
finished.
finished.
That's the end of it.
Yes.
Now, is that the way all the compromises in firearms legislation go?
Not at all. Not at all. It's just the other side, the anti-gun types, are just waiting for the next compromise.
Well, that's the reason why I told the NRA that they had to quit this business of reacting. We had to get active in the political scene because that's where the power is.
Well, you know, Judge, it's going back to the beginning of our program 5 years ago. You know, we could get almost no one to support us. They said, a lot of the gun people and industry people said, well, why do we need a TV show? We have magazines. And I said, are you people nuts? You know, I said, can't you people understand that you're being crucified in the media, by the televised media? We've got to get in these places. You just don't sell to enthusiasts because, you know what, one day you'll run out of enthusiasts. You've got to go after new people. You have to go after the public who don't know much about these guns. That's what this program is, in fact, all about, is educating America on why we have these things.
Well,
and who
this
we
little
are.
portion of this program is Talk TV.
That's right.
Talk Radio has done a lot for it. Talk TV has done a lot more. And until they figure out some way to shut us up, we're going to be here.
Now, friends, the Great Soldier Fortune Convention is coming up September 27 through October 1. And for information on that, it's going to be at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Call 1-800-800-7630. Again, 1-800-800-7630.